Hi guys, I'm Hannah. Welcome to my channel. If you don't follow me on Tumblr, I am a 25-year-old with a pacemaker. I actually got a pacemaker when I was 24. It was kind of a long, drawn-out process. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about why I have a pacemaker, my experience, and kind of my feelings surrounding being a 25-year-old with a pacemaker. So let's launch right into it. So when I was 23, I was working a very difficult, demanding, very physical horseback riding job. And I was tired all the time, I was up early, I was working 14 hours a day, it was nuts. And I was having a lot of GI issues. I was throwing up, having diarrhea, dizzy. Sometimes I'd get out of bed and I'd be walking to the bathroom because I thought I was going to get sick, and I'd like run into the door on the way there. Like clearly something wasn't right. At first I thought for sure, you know, I have some nasty bug. This is terrible. I need some fluids and some rest, a day off, whatever. So I went to the ER, I think twice. The first time I was like, I've been throwing up for X number of days. I feel awful. Please just give me some fluids and send me on my way. Well, I did that. A couple days later, I woke up, didn't feel well again. I went to go to the bathroom, and on the way there, I passed out. It was a big, loud, loud thud. People came running, and they're like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I had a roommate, and I was like, you know, I'm not quite sure what happened. Last I remember, I was on the way to the bathroom to throw up, and now I'm on the floor. Obviously, I can infer that I've passed out, but I have no idea why. Went back to the emergency room, explained what happened. Again, thought I was really sick. Maybe I had maybe the water was making me sick on the farm because there could have been some runoff. We tested me for Lyme's disease, a bacterial infection. I don't even know. Lots and lots of things. Happened again. I passed out on the way to the bathroom. Actually, no, this time I was brushing my teeth. I was brushing my teeth. I stopped, I was really dizzy. I thought, you know, I think I'm gonna throw up. Fell backwards and passed out. The worst part of that experience was I passed out into the cat litter box. And when I came to, I immediately started crying, not because I passed out, but because I passed out into the cat litter box. I was very upset about it. Literally passed out like toothbrush still in mouth. A little scary. Anyways, again, nobody really knew what was wrong with me. So at the time I was living in Pennsylvania, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I've been on the phone with GI doctors, I've been on the phone with my parents, I've been on the phone with really random doctors that my parents were just like, I don't know what's wrong with you, let's have you talk to these people. Finally I said, I need to come home. So I came home for my birthday in 2012, so I would have been turning 23. So yeah, so I guess actually this started when I was 22, but I was turning 23. So I flew home for my birthday, which was a welcome break. Got a couple days off, was home for my birthday, which wasn't planned, but it's nice when I hadn't seen my family in a while. I spent the night in the hospital. They scoped me. They literally stuck a tube down me and scoped my stomach to see if I had some crazy bananas going on. Drew so much blood, I don't even know. I had like pricks in both arms. I looked like I might have been using. Let's see, they scoped me, they tested me for any kind of allergies, gluten, wheat, anything that would upset my GI system, and then just, they were thinking the pass out was just a side effect of my GI system going all crazy. I saw an electrophysiologist. That was the first time when the GI doctor was like, nothing, your stomach looks fantastic, I don't know what to tell you. That was the first time that we were like, all right, I have no idea, let's have you see an electrophysiologist. Electrophysiologist is a very specialized heart doctor who specifically looks at arrhythmias and irregularities in heart rhythms. And he said, again, I don't really know what's wrong with you, let's stick you on a Holter monitor, which is a 30-day monitor that'll monitor all of your heart's activities, and let's see if we can find something. Because nobody really knew what was wrong with me. Okay, fine. Stick on the Holter monitor, which is terrible because it's those little stickers, and you have like 4 on your body. You have to wear it at all times, 24/7, except when you're showering. And they like rip off your skin when you change them. Not the best. But I wore it. I think I probably was wearing it. I was nearing the end of the month, I was maybe like 3 weeks in, when I got a phone call from my dad, who said, you know, we got your readings from this like cell phone that would send it to my doctor, and your heart paused in the morning at like 5 in the morning the other day. And I was like, okay, all right, interesting. What do we do? So really at that point, I was just kind of excited that I think my pizza's here. So yes, that was my pizza. We'll talk about diet changes in a moment. At that point, I really didn't know what to think. I didn't really know what it meant that my heart was pausing. I didn't know how we were going to solve it, but at that point, I was just so excited that someone had an answer, because I was starting to think that it was anxiety and stress manifesting in physical forms. I thought it was all in my head. People were telling me it was all in my head, and I was like, you know, you could be right, but like, I feel like when you pass out, that's real, like something not good is going on. So I quit that job, partly because I was miserable, but also because I was like, I got stuff going on, I need to go home, I need to be around doctors I know and get this figured out. So at this point I'm 23, and the electrophysiologist picked up 2 pauses during that 30-day period, and he wasn't quite ready to put a pacemaker in a 23-year-old, which I totally understand. And you know, the 2 pauses were around 10 to 15 seconds. They weren't that significant. They're not great either, but they weren't that significant. And he was like, you know, I really want to collect some more data before I make a giant move like putting a pacemaker in a 23-year-old. So what they did was they put a loop recorder, which literally looked like, I really wanted to keep it, I should have asked them for it. It looked like a flash drive. And they put it in my chest, kind of where a pacemaker sits. And all it did was just record my heart rhythms all day, all night. Anytime there was anything abnormal, it flagged it in the system. And I would go in once a month and have them download all the information and look for anything. So I had that for close to a year. For the first 6 months, I went once a month, had it downloaded, nothing. No activity, nothing abnormal. And I thought, wow, you know, maybe it was my job. So I started going every 3 months because I was like, it's stupid for me to be paying this much money to go for you to tell me that I'm fine. I went out Thursday, May 22nd. I went to a concert, hanging out with friends. I did drink, not much. I was driving. So I also have a whole separate issue where my stomach doesn't really agree with drinking. So whatever. I woke up the morning of Friday, May 23rd, and I was like, I'm gonna throw up. I walked to the bathroom, I'm on the way there, and I hit the deck hard. No warning, didn't catch myself whatsoever. When I came to, it took me a really long time to come to because on my way down I smacked my head actually around the corner on the floor. And I just laid there, trying to process the fact that this was happening again, that I was on the floor, and that I couldn't really see because I hit my head so hard. And I immediately started crying. Out of frustration more than anything else because I thought I was done with this whole process. And so I had a friend stay the night before because she couldn't drive home. I woke her up and I was like, you need to drive me to the emergency room. I'll explain on the way there, and gave her the short version of what had been happening. And I showed up to the emergency room. My dad met me there. He was at work. I was getting ready for work. I work at a hospital. We work at the same hospital. I was getting ready for work, or that was my plan anyways, when I was on the way to the bathroom to throw up and then get ready for work. So I walk into work where I know everyone. I'm like, hey guys, no big deal. I'm just here. Not feeling so great. Took me into the ER, put me in a room, and I just did not feel well. I did not feel well at all. We were trying to gather the people, both my electrophysiologist and the St. Jude medical device representative who could download the information from my loop recorder. In the time period that they were trying to gather them, I turned to my dad and I said, you know what, Dad, like, I don't know what's wrong. I've never had this happen twice, but I don't feel good. I think it's going to happen again. At that point, since I was feeling okay, I walked myself into the ER. They hadn't quite hooked me up to anything yet. And my dad jumped right into action. He grabbed the doc, he grabbed the nurse, and they were like, you need to put an EKG on her right now. They had just finished attaching the EKG. They took a reading, and then I was hooked up to something else that was monitoring my blood pressure and my heart rate. And the nurse was like, hey, do you need anything? Are you okay? I was like, you know, I'm okay. And she was like, okay, I'll be right back. At that point, she was about to leave the room and I was about to be alone. She was opening the door and I said, no. I said, I'm gonna pass out, you need to come back. I passed out, had a small seizure in the bed. That time, my heart only stopped for 10 seconds. And I woke up to about 7 people standing over me like this, like just, you're okay, it's okay, you're okay. And I was like, yeah, I know I'm okay. I've done this a few times. Whoa, everybody needs to take a step back. And then I promptly threw up on myself, which was attractive. So yeah, so that was a really fun day. They got the St. Jude person down, read everything on my heart, and they said, you know, when you passed out here in the apartment, your heart stopped for 30 seconds. When you passed out here in the hospital, your heart stopped for 10. So a 30-second pause without someone needing to be shocked back into existence is kind of uncommon. So after that, they attached defibrillator pads to me. I think that, in this entire process, even including passing out, was the scariest moment. That's when I realized how real it was. As she was attaching the pads, I knew exactly what they were, but I was like, please tell me what this is. Please explain why you're putting them on me. And she was like, look, you know, we just want to be safe in case it happens again. We really don't want to have to use them because getting shocked is really uncomfortable, both while it's happening and afterwards. It's really painful, but we want to be safe. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, like, you watch TV shows, you watch movies where people get shocked because they have flatlined, and that is what's attached to me right now. That was, for me, the scariest moment. But anyways, once I kind of made peace with the fact that I was attached to a system that could shock me back into existence, we got the electrophysiologist down and he was like, I read all of your readings from your loop recorder. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that you need a pacemaker. And we are going to do it today. Like, you are not leaving here without a pacemaker. And I was like, okay. So I sat around all day because he had other surgery, you know, planned scheduled surgeries, and then I got it like about 6 that night. When he told me I had to have a pacemaker, I actually started laughing. Several reasons. One, because when he originally said to me when I was 23 that I might need a pacemaker, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, right, whatever. And for him to be sitting here being like, you're not leaving here without a pacemaker, I was like, haha, oh my god, this is so real. It was one of those things where I didn't really know how to react except to have a really inappropriate reaction, which was to laugh. But more than anything, I felt so much relief. The last, essentially 2 years, I'd had a big question mark, a big thing hanging over my head. You know, is it going to happen again? Am I going to pass out? Am I going to wake up on my own this time? There was just so many questions, you know, is it all in my head? And finally, I had a solution. And I was so excited about that. So I was actually, in a strange way, very excited to get a pacemaker because I knew that once that was in me, I was never, hopefully anyways, which I'll talk about, I was never going to end up on the floor again wondering what happened. So I was really excited. In terms of the actual surgery, I've had a few surgeries, tonsillectomy, ear tubes, I had a surgery on my shins. So I had been put under before, so I wasn't nervous about that. What I was nervous about was when I had my loop recorder put in the year before. Typically, with someone who has a low heart rate, which I do, obviously, they don't like to put someone under and put them through anesthesia. So what they do is they try to just whack you out of your mind with drugs so you don't know what's going on, but you're not asleep. So with that loop recorder experience, my experience, I just want to preface, is probably rare. I hope anyways, but it was the worst experience of my life. They gave me my first round of drugs and, you know, they waited for it to take effect, and they said, you know, how do you feel? I said, you know, I feel like I've had 1 glass of wine. So everyone in there laughed and was like, that's not going to be enough for us to open up your chest. So they gave me more, waited for that to take effect, and then they asked me, okay, how do you feel now? And I said, again, I said these words. I just looked straight at the doctor and I said, I feel uncomfortably coherent. And everyone in the room, apparently I'm very funny, started laughing, and they were like, well, she's using big words, we should probably give her a little more. Gave me a little bit more, and I had a nurse who sat next to my head, and her job was literally to look at me and talk to me and ask me how I was doing, whatever. So he said, I've given you now the max that I'm comfortable with giving you, like, we're gonna begin now. And I was saying, this is not enough, this is not enough, this is not enough. I'm really aware of what's going on, I'm not okay with this. And he was like, I'm sorry, I can't give you any more. So I'm talking to the nurse. I couldn't feel them slice me open, but sorry, it gives me the heebie-jeebies. I could feel him spreading my skin and putting his fingers inside of my chest to put the device in. I can't even describe to you what that feeling was like. I immediately started bawling and screaming on the table, and the nurse looked like she was gonna cry, and she's looking at the doctor going, this isn't right, like, we need to do something. At this point, you know, my chest is already open, what else is he gonna do? So when he sewed me up and finished, he rolled me back to, I had friends with me, my parents were actually out of town. I had friends with me, and I told them, you know, when they put me under, because I wasn't thinking, and I was thinking they were putting me under, I do really funny things coming out. So they were like so prepared for me to be hilarious, and like I think someone even, I told them that they could like film me. So they had the film out, and they were like, and I walked into the room bawling, and they were like, okay, we're gonna put that away. It was a very like uncomfortable experience. So that's what I was most nervous for. I told the doctor probably on 5 different occasions, I said, I had this terrible experience. I've told you the story before. I can't do that again. I don't want to feel it. Like, you're gonna actually be near my heart. Please put me under. And he said, I promise you, you will not feel anything, you will not remember anything. And he kept his word. So that's what I was most nervous about. And when I woke up, I like gave him a high five. I was like, I remember nothing, and I'm really high, so thank you. So the actual surgery wasn't scary at all. In terms of recovery, you can't move your left arm, so above like here, even that, I pretty much just left it at my side for a month. Which is way more difficult than you think it might be. If you've ever had shoulder surgery, then I commiserated with my mom because she's now had 4 shoulder surgeries. I was like, this is terrible. I only have one arm, I can't reach for anything. I like would try to put a jacket on and I couldn't. It was annoying. And I couldn't put, that was the worst, I couldn't put my hair up. So when people came to visit me, literally the first thing I would say when people walked in the door, I was like, can you put my hair in a ponytail? Thanks. So yeah, that was the worst part, was not being able to use my arm. After that month period was up, actually even towards like 3 weeks, it stopped hurting, and I would catch myself accidentally doing that, you know, lifting my arm or whatever, but they told me 1 month, so I had to like try and refrain from moving my arm. The reason that they ask you to do that is I have 2 wires, one that goes to the top of my heart and one that goes to the bottom, and then there's the actual pacemaker device, which we'll take a look at in a second. They want, your body literally has to like form around this foreign body that they've put inside you. And so they want as much as you can not to move your arm while your body kind of gets used to this foreign device that's in your chest. So that's the thing. And after a month, they go back in, and not go back in, sorry, they go back and check and make sure that the wires are still in the right place. They do that by testing your heart rate. That was also a very strange experience. The day after the surgery, and then anytime after that, in order to test to make sure that your pacemaker is working and that all the settings are correct, my nurse practitioner will speed my heart rate up. And so I feel it kick in, and I feel it, she's like, oh yeah, that's me, just taking control of your heart. It's a very strange experience when you have someone else telling you exactly what they're doing to you, and then you can feel it in here. It's bizarre. I've gotten used to it now over time, but it's uncomfortable. It's a little like, ugh, I don't like this. So anyways, the recovery, couldn't raise the arm. Other than that, wasn't so bad. I think I only took pain meds for like the first week, if that, and then I was totally fine. Couldn't drive for the first week. After that, pretty much back to normal activity except for the arm. So in terms of day-to-day pacemaker activity, pacemakers are not really designed for people of my age that are young, active, whatever. I ride horses, I used to play tennis, I run sometimes, I'm active. They're designed for the people that you normally think have a pacemaker, the 80-year-olds who need it even just to walk to the fridge. So and I've had it for almost a year now, not quite at all, 6 months, whatever. I've gone in several times to go and tweak the settings. Most recently last week, actually. I was getting paced a lot more than I felt like I should have, and I was really uncomfortable. I didn't feel very good, didn't like it. So we changed my settings. So now if I drop to 45 beats per minute or lower, it will kick in, bring me back up to 65, keep me there, and then let me go on my own. So that's to stop me from passing out. And then on the other end, she jacked it all the way up to like 190. So if I popped up to 190, it would bring me back down. Hardly anyone ever goes up to 190 beats per minute. She made it that high because I am so active. I was getting paced while I was riding or while I was doing things. And she was like, that can't be comfortable. That's totally normal for your heart rate to be up there while you're doing active things. So let's just toss it way up high, because if you did go up there, that would be bad. We're gonna bring you back down. So most of this like first year is gonna be us tweaking the settings, trying to figure out what works for me, what makes me feel better, what is right for my heart and my body. So that's been one of the challenges, and it's actually like really fun for them, I'm told anyways, my electrophysiologist and my nurse practitioner. It's like a little puzzle for them to figure out, like, how do we make this device not made for 25-year-old work for a 25-year-old. So anyways, I've gone on and tweaked it. I feel a lot better since they changed it last week, so hopefully it will continue working well in that sense. So someone had asked me a bunch of questions about what it's like to have a pacemaker, so I'm just making sure I've covered everything. Okay, so here's a question. Do you have to do anything daily, regularly, that you didn't have to do before? So in terms of the pacemaker, no. It just is there, does its thing. I don't really have to worry about it. In terms of the condition that I have that made me need a pacemaker, there are things I have to do differently. So I have something called neurocardiogenic syncope, which is a form of dysautonomia, which if you follow me on Tumblr, during October it was Dysautonomia month, and I went nuts and was like, everybody needs to know about dysautonomia. What it is it's a malfunction of the autonomic nervous system, which means that things that you shouldn't have to think about aren't regulated the way that they are supposed to, like heart rate, blood pressure, breathing, all that kind of stuff. So for me, my symptoms, for the most part, have only manifested in terms of my heart rate dropping, my blood pressure dropping really low, so both happen at the same time, which is why I pass out. Now that my heart rate problem is solved, I still sometimes have a really low blood pressure, so I won't feel well. That's where I get like the dizziness, nausea, I don't feel great, but the pacemaker catches it, so I don't actually pass out. And then sometimes I'll have shortness of breath, not bad at all, nothing like super concerning, and then because of the blood pressure issue, I will have nausea, dizziness, and stuff like that. In terms of trying to fix that when that happens, Gatorade is my savior. The salt in the Gatorade actually helps to expand your blood and raise your blood pressure a little bit. So that's what that's for. And then caffeine, 1 cup only, helps me sometimes kick my heart rate up a little bit. If I have more than one, I get very shaky, doesn't feel very good, I don't like it. So it's one and done caffeine type of thing. So basically it's just monitoring my symptoms to make sure that I feel okay, and then acting accordingly. If I'm really tired and I really don't feel good, I'm gonna go take a nap, and that's how I'm gonna solve that problem. So that hasn't happened as much recently, but it's just kind of listening to my body, making sure that I do whatever I gotta do to take care of it, and then kind of rolling with it. It's inevitable that there will be days that I don't feel well. It is what it is. As long as I don't end up on the floor, I really don't care. So yeah, so that's kind of the day-to-day activity. In terms of diet, when you have any kind of heart condition or any health issues, it's obviously a better idea to eat healthy. So recently I've switched to a high protein, low carb type of diet. I'm also trying to lose weight because that helps as well. I was 10 pounds overweight, 30 pounds over where I would like to be. So far I've lost 20, so I've got like 10 to go, 10, 15. I haven't decided where I really want to land yet. And that will just make it easier for my body to do what it needs to do. So yes, eating healthy is a good idea. Obviously, as you know, I ordered pizza. I do like to be a person and enjoy, so I will. But it's just being smart and making sure that you don't go nuts and have pizza all day long or whatever. You know, have one meal that's not so great, but then try to the next day maybe be a little bit better. So that's my diet. Okay, here's the big question. Are there any side effects or things that can malfunction that worry you? Yes. So a pacemaker lasts for 10 to 15 years, and then I'll have to go in and get the battery changed. And they don't have to do anything with the wires that are attached to my heart. They literally just change out the little pack, if you will. I do fear sometimes that it'll malfunction and it won't work and I'll pass out or whatever. That is highly unlikely. People go years and years and years and years with nothing happening. I also have, which I'll show you, this this little box, if you will, that communicates with my doctor. So whenever I'm watching TV, I bring it close to me and it'll literally download all the information, and then it sends it over to my doctor, and he looks if there's anything abnormal that he needs to know about. It flags it in the system and he can look at it. So if my pacemaker was malfunctioning, they would know about it. So really, it's a fear that I have, but I know that it's pretty highly unlikely. So having this guy is really helpful. What he looks like, but it'll flash and let it know that it's, so that's also prevents me from having to go to my doctor like way more often. Right, let's do the fun part. So it's not that pretty. Usually scars are very thin and beautiful and look like any other surgery scar that you've probably seen. Mine opened back up and I wasn't able to stitch it back closed, so they had to let it heal. It's very wide, it's kind of gross. It's sometimes I'm self-conscious about it, but it is what it is. So there is the scar. You can see it's a little wider over there, and then I'm not sure if you can see it, but underneath is the faded scar over here from the first loop recorder, and then they tried as best as they could to just cut right over it so I would only have one scar instead of multiple. In terms of cosmetics, it does stick out a little bit. You can see right here, you know, from a profile side, it's like, unless you know it's there, you're really not going to see it, but you can kind of tell that there's something in my chest. And then I let people touch it all the time, but it's right here. Literally just feels like a little maybe hard tissue type thing. So if you ever want to touch it, feel free to ask. I let people touch it all the time, which sometimes looks strange because it is like my upper boob. But yeah, so here are the edges. Here, oh, edges down there. It's about that big. And then the wires connect to my heart. So it's keeps me alive, so it's my little friend. He doesn't have a name yet. That's actually something I've been meaning to do. Give him a name since he does keep me alive. So yeah, that's kind of my pacemaker story. This video was impossibly long, so thank you if you stuck to the end. I think I covered most everything about what it was like, my journey, how I felt. If you have any other questions, please hit me up on Tumblr, email, whatever, which I will put in the bottom. Also my P.O. box if you want to write a letter, if you have a pacemaker story and you want to chat. I'm here. Thanks for watching.